To be able to adjust the cells as far as columns and rows go, and I'm looking at column A, which is about yay big. Okay, what's the size of a yay big? I'll go over the measurements in just a minute. But to be able to find out the measurements for that column, as well as to adjust the size for it, the width that is, you just need to hover over to the right-hand side of the column label, or the column header for that, which is A. Or if you want to do it for B and find out and adjust the size of it, go over to the right-hand side of B, but just before C, until you can see arrows pointing in opposite directions. So let's go back. So we're to the right-hand side of A, but before B. So when I see those arrows, just go ahead and click. And you can see in the pop-up the size of that column, column A, which is 11.69 or 161 pixels. And then to make it wider, drag to the right. To make it shorter, drag it to the left. Let go, and there you go. You can also do it for rows. So if I want to make row 5 larger, let me hover below row 5 but above 6 until I can see arrows pointing in opposite directions. Then click and drag down to about 40.80, 95 pixels. Let go, and there we go. And if I want to go ahead and collapse it, click and drag, and if I go too far, it gets cut off, and I'm like, oh, that's horrifying. Let's go ahead and click and drag it, and I'm like, oh, that's too much space, and I keep playing this game of pushing it so it's just right. You can do what's called an auto fit by hovering over in between the two rows or column headers and double clicking really fast. So below 5 to adjust 5 until I can see arrows pointing up and down, double click really fast. It does an auto fit. In other words, it takes the largest data within that row and fits it to that height. And everything's the same size. It's size 10, so that worked out well. But as far as column A goes, you can see that Camping Gear US bleeds over into column B. So if I want column A to include that and not have it, get cut off, well, it's not cut off because there's nothing over in column B, but to be resized to fit all that, then go ahead and hover over to the right-hand side, and you can see arrows pointing in opposite directions. Double click really fast, and hey, isn't that fun? Let me go ahead and click and drag it back. Now, if you're not good at double clicking or you don't want to do that, just go ahead and click anywhere within the column or row that you want to adjust or do the auto fit, and then come up here on the Home tab and go over to the Cells group, click on the Format, and there you go. There's the auto fit for the row and the auto fit for the column. Let me go ahead and click on it. I didn't think it was going to work. I probably need to shut down and restart my computer. But if I go ahead and click on the column header A and select the entire column, and then I come back here and do Format to column width, the auto fit that is, then it'll do it. As opposed to like if I come down here and I click and drag just below 5 but above 6, and I click anywhere within that row, and I come back up here and I want to do the auto fit for the row height, click on it, it does it. Great. Now, not only can you do it for an individual row or column, you can do it for multiple selections. So for example, if I go ahead and let's do it for the rows here, let me click on row header 7, go down to 10, and if I go ahead and hover in between any one of these selected row headers until I can see arrows pointing up and down, and I click and drag, let go, it adjusts all of them to the same height. And of course you can also do an auto fit, so just go ahead and double click really fast in between any one of those selected row headers and it does the auto fit. Cool. Now if you want to get more persnickety and you're like, okay, I gotta have it exactly this height, and you know your numbers, well, you can go ahead and with the row selected, you can either come up here on the Home tab, go to the Cells group, click on the Format drop down arrow, and there's row height and column width, but we want to do it for the selected rows, so click on it. Opens up and you can go ahead and type in your numbers, like let's do 15, hit enter, and there you go. And better yet, you can come over here and right click, or you can right click anywhere in the selection of the rows here and go to row height and then go ahead and adjust it, 12.75, hit enter, cool. Next, if you want to be able to hide your columns, like let's say I'm doing a presentation or I'm working on this and I don't want to focus on April. In fact, to be able to work and bring data closer together without deleting the column, I can right click on column F, the header that is, and go down to hide, and it collapses. I can also do it for rows, row 8 through 10. Maybe I just want to focus on that employee. So by right clicking on that selection and going to hide, there we go. Now I can focus on that employee, but of course the month totals isn't accurate because it's including the hidden rows. And so if you actually do a little bit of work here, you can say, okay, 7-11, okay, something's off there. I don't know if you can see it, but you got like a double line instead of a single line in between the two. And if you do your numbers as well as you know your alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, G, H, okay, F is missing. So if you find out you're missing some data and it looks kind of funny to you, where you're missing some letters or numbers, then you've got some rows and columns that are being hidden. So to be able to bring them back because you're ready to bring this part up in your presentation or you want to be able to focus on it, then go ahead, and you can't right-click on a single column before or after the hidden column to unhide because it's not going to work. What you have to do is you have to select the column that's not hidden before it and after it, because the guy's getting squished in between. So you got to go ahead and select both and right-click on the selection to unhide, and he pops out going, oh, thanks, I can breathe now. And also for your rows, click from 7 to 11, so it's selected everything in between, and then right-click to unhide, and cool, back to where we started. Now, in addition to that, you can also hide your worksheets. So if I want to hide sheet 1, right-click and go to hide, it's gone. And then if I'm like, okay, where did it go? And I want to bring it back, go ahead and right-click on the worksheet to unhide it. And let me click and drag this up, and it shows all the worksheets that are hidden. We just have one. With it selected, click Okie dokie, and it's back. You can also come up here, click on the View tab, and go to the window group and hide the entire workbook. And it's gone. Oh, that's horrifying. And if you're like, what happened? Well, let's go ahead and close out, and let's save it. And here it is right here. So if you double click and you open it up, and you're like, oh my gosh, I lost everything. Well, if you remember, because you hid it for whatever reason, it could be because you don't want somebody else to open it up without applying a password to it, and so they don't look at things that they're not ready for. Maybe it's to hide during a presentation and you don't want to type in a password. Maybe you have a level 1 security where they don't automatically see it. Level 2 would be a password. But you can come over here to the window group and click on unhide, and that's the workbook. You can have more than one hidden workbook, and we'll cover the other options in a later training video. But for right now, we just have the one workbook. Click Okie dokie, and whew, I thought we lost everything. To check your worksheet for spelling errors, come up here and click on the Review tab, go to the Proofing group, and there's spelling, or spell check as I call it. You can see in the pop-up you can hit the F7 key on the keyboard as a shortcut, click on it to open up the spelling window, and the first thing that it didn't find within its dictionary that it considers misspelled is Dreamforce, altogether one word, and so its solution is, or suggestion, to go ahead and break it up. If you want to go ahead and do that, then select Change. I don't want to do that. Or you can change all, meaning that if you had Dreamforce in more than one cell throughout the worksheet, then you can change it for all. Or I can come up here and just ignore it once here, and then in which case if it found Dreamforce again, all one word, then I have the option to ignore it again or ignore all of them throughout the entire worksheet. Now this only checks for the current worksheet, not the entire workbook, so you have to do it sheet by sheet. You also get the other option where you can add it to the dictionary where it will no longer consider it misspelled. So click on Add, and then it goes to the next one, which is, okay, it found February. Let me click and drag the title bar so I can move the window out of the way, and there it is. February should be February. So with it highlighted, as one of the suggestions, I could have Briary, but that doesn't make sense. Go ahead and select February, come over here and say that you want to change it, click on it. Hey, you're good to go. Oh, isn't that nice? Click OK, and then if you're like, you know what, I changed my mind. I don't want to add Dreamforce as one word as being spelled correctly. I want it to appear as not in the dictionary or being misspelled where it has to be two separate words. To go ahead and change what you just added to the dictionary, in other words, to remove it, delete it, come up here, click on the File tab, go backstage, and let's roll down to Options. Come up here and select Proofing, the category, and then come down and click on Custom Dictionaries. And, well, you have the default dictionary. That includes spelling of, well, the more popular words, except for those, like Dreamforce, whether it's all one word or, in this case, once it's two separate words, you can go ahead and when you add it to the dictionary, it adds it to its custom dictionary, not the default dictionary. You won't be able to override that. In fact, if you select it and you try to edit it, forget it. Can't do it. But so it's got its own custom dictionary for you to go ahead and add words to and from. So with it selected, come up here and click on Edit. And oh, you see it doesn't like my name either. I had to add my name. It considered K-I-R-T as being misspelled as well as my last name. So there's Dreamforce. When I go ahead and select it and I delete it, and if you want to add words here, you can go ahead and type it in and click on Add, but I'm not going to do that. I deleted it. When I delete it, I click OK, click OK, click OK, and I go ahead and do the spell check again. And then notice what cell that I have selected. It's D5, so it's going to begin the spell check if I leave it there. from that point to the right and all the way down. So we'll have to go through an entire cycle to come back up here to find that as being misspelled because we removed it or deleted it from the dictionary. Well, we can go ahead and click on check for spelling. It says, look, we went to the end. We couldn't find anything down there. How about we finish by going back up to the top, these last 4 rows? Well, 5 because it includes columns A, B, and C for that row before it hits where we just started for the spell check. And say yes. And it found it, Dreamforce, because we removed it from the dictionary. And we can go ahead and ignore it or add it back to the dictionary. I'll just go ahead and, well, click cancel. That's like ignoring it. The 2 things I want to go over in this video is the Smart Lookup feature and the Thesaurus. First of all, the Smart Lookup. It's used to search the contents of a cell, and over in the task pane, it will reveal more to explore or to define. So for example, if I want to look up the word commission, select it, come up here, click on the Review tab, and then go to Insights, the group, and click on Smart Lookup. Or better yet, you can always go ahead and right-click on it, and you get the Smart Lookup there. Hey, that was smart. Let's go ahead and left-click on that. Opens up the task pane. You got Explore and the definition, defining it. So for exploring it, it does give you the definition of the noun. And then you can, oh, you got this little guy right here, so you can have the pronunciation for it. If you got your speakers hooked up to your computer, go ahead and click on it.
Commission.
Oh, that was fun. Okay, let's go ahead and scroll down. Verb, explore Wikipedia. You can go ahead and click on the link to be able to get more than what you see here. It gets cut off. Can't give you everything within this teeny tiny little box. So that's exploring. And then if you just want the definition, and you don't see it here, well, it's there, but you can go ahead and click on Define. And there you go, how it defines it as a noun, and scroll down, and as a verb. Fabulous. Let's go ahead and close out of that. Next is the Thesaurus, and it's used to look up synonyms, or another word that's synonymous with the word that you're looking up. In other words, you want to say the same thing, but you're using another word because you may lose the comprehension of your audience if you keep using the same word over and over again. So go ahead and select the cell that contains the word that you want to find a synonym for, or thesaurus. And come up here on the Review tab, go to the Proofing group, and it's right there. Go ahead and click, well, you see in the pop-up, at a loss for words. Let us suggest another way to say what you mean. Okay, go ahead and click on it, opens it up, and alright, for commission, you can say command, directive, instruction. You can go ahead and scroll through all that, but I won't. But to go ahead and to choose one of these words, you can, well, you got the little drop-down arrow, you can click on it. You can insert it or copy it. You can also right-click on it, brings up the same shortcut menu, insert, copy. So if I insert it, it'll insert over commission here, insert, and it overwrote it. How about if I go ahead and select another cell and go ahead and insert directive there to insert. Great. Well, you can also go ahead and copy it and then find another place, and Control V as in Victor to paste it. It's your flavor, whatever works best for you. Now keep in mind when it comes to Thesaurus and the Smart Lookup that it works best with just a single word, not a combination of words like Camping Gear US. Because if I come up here and click on Thesaurus again, it says I can't find anything with all that gibberish because it's only looking for one word. And also for Smart Lookup, we can go ahead and right click on that, go to Smart Lookup. Let me close out of the Thesaurus here. And it's exploring camping and hiking. Okay, it's not narrowing it down, but oh, camp gear. So you see what I'm saying? Camping, hiking, camp gear. So in any case, you can do it that way. How about the definition of it? Can't find it because what word are you focusing on? It can't focus on more than one word in a cell. So it's not as smart as I thought. To format the text within your worksheet, it's really simplistic, and the reason why you want to do it is to make your worksheet appear more organized. So for example, I've got this in bold, the title of, well, what I'm working on here in my mini database, which is camping gear. And if I want to be able to make certain areas of it pop, to make it look a little bit more in depth or organized, how about the labels for these columns here for the sales for the months of January, February, March, as well as the labels for the totals and average and the highest and the lowest. So let's go ahead and click and drag and select that range. And as you recall in an earlier training video, to do multiple selections, non-linear, hold down the Control key and then click and drag. And then click and drag. And if you overshoot, remember, new to Excel 2019 is still holding down the Control key. You can deselect a cell and, oh, that's nice. I don't have to go ahead and reselect everything. So with everything selected that I want to be able to apply the format to, like bold, come up here on the Home tab to the font group and make it bold. You can do it that way, or you can go ahead and right-click on any of these highlighted areas, selections, and when you right-click, you get the mini formatting toolbar, and there you can see B for bold. Deselect it. It's no longer in bold. Or you can come up here in the font group and click its expandable dialog box button. Click on it. You can change it to a different font, which you could have done from here, but you get some extra spiffies here, like the effects. You can put strike through, superscript, subscript. You've got underline, which you can click on the drop-down arrow, single, double. I'm just going to go ahead and go bold and maybe increase the size. You get a preview of it, click OK, and okay, that's a little bit too much for me. So if you got a lot of formatting applied to the ranges here and you don't want to go back to deselect that, to go ahead and change the size and, undo everything that you did if you don't have the undo option available, then the other thing you can do to go ahead and clear the formatting for the selected ranges, as you recall in an earlier training video, is to come over here to the editing group. And it's the eraser. Click on the drop down arrow and say that you just want to clear the formats. Click on it and we're back to where we started. Next, if you want to be able to change the formatting of the entire worksheet to select everything within the worksheet, well, you can either come up here and click in between the headers A and 1, that little block there with the triangle pointing down to cell A1, click on it, selects the entire worksheet, and then you can come up here and click on B for bold. Okay, the first click deselects whatever's in bold, and then the second click bolds everything. I'm going to go ahead and hit undo a couple of times so you can go back to the way it was. You can do it that way, or you can go ahead and click off in a blank area. And I say click off in a blank area for this next example because if you want to use the shortcut keys Control A and I'm in a blank area, it selects the entire worksheet. But if I'm not in a blank area and I'm in one of these little mini databases, well, according to Excel, it's a mini database because it's all together. I don't have any gaps either by rows or by columns. And I do Control A, it just selects that range. Let me do the next one up here for the labels. Control A selects that range. Oh, this is getting fun. Go ahead and do Control A. Oh, the excitement never ends. Let's go ahead and come over here, Control A. So it just selects all the cells that are adjacent to it by row or by column. And that's why it's important if you're going to use the shortcut keys that, well, you click off if you want to select the entire worksheet, or better yet, if you want to go ahead and select a range, don't go ahead and click and drag. Oh, how very ordinary. We just learned something new. Go ahead and click in it, Control A, there you go. Go ahead and apply your formatting as we went over. Let me go ahead and select this range here, or I could have clicked in here and did Control A, but I don't want the ID as part of it. So I can hold down the Control key and deselect it, and I just have this range here. I can go ahead and right click on the range to go down to Format Cells, so I can apply formatting. The Font tab is one of many here. You can also apply alignment to that range, which, how about if we do that? Let me come over here to the orientation, and you can click and drag that little red diamond and go up. And say you want to do it at 45 degrees. And if you don't get it right on 45 degrees, you can come down here in the spin dial box and type in 45. And then go ahead and click OK. And oh, that looks kind of fancy. Let me click off. Yeah, I'll buy that. Let's go ahead and click and drag to select it. So you can do it that way. Or you can come up here to the alignment group and click its expandable dialog box button. It takes you right to the alignment tab to make your changes if you want to go back to 0, close out, or better yet, you do have that option right here, the orientation. Click on it, and you can do it vertical, rotate, up and down. Sure, why not? It's not working for me. So let me go ahead and just click on its expandable dialog box button, and let's type in 0, hit enter, and we're back to where we started. And then you have the number formats, which is a special type of format that you can apply to a cell or range of cells that contain numbers. And I'm looking at these numbers right here that represent the sales for each employee for the months of January through April. And I want to be able to add a special number format that adds the dollar symbol next to each one of these numbers. To do that, after I selected my range, I want to come up here on the Home tab, go to the number group, and hey, there's a dollar symbol. You can see when I hover over it, that's the accounting number format. And in the pop-up, it's not just, well, for dollars, which is the default for my Excel program, but you can also do it for euros or other currency. When I click on it, the default's added the dollar symbols, but if I want to go ahead and change that to a different type of currency, click on its corresponding drop-down arrow, and you get it for the UK, Euro, you can do more. Let me go ahead and click off. So that's for the accounting, and you can see it with it selected down below, what type of number format's being applied to it in this window here, which you do have a drop-down arrow, so if you want to change it, click on the drop-down arrow and you get all these different options, and the least of which we got accounting. But in addition to that, you also have currency, and that also has a dollar symbol. So what's the difference between the two? Well, you're not going to see it in my database unless I arrange it just a little bit, because the width of my columns are too small. So if I come up here and I hover to the right of the column header C, but before D, until I can see arrows pointing in opposite directions in between the two, when I go ahead and click and drag to the right, it opens up the width of column C. When I let go, you can see the dollar symbol is way out there in left field, as opposed to, well, let's come back up here and change it from accounting to, click on it, currency, where it gets snug right up against the number. So there's the major difference. And then let's come back up here, and you got your percent symbol. You also have the thousandth separator. So when you get 4 numbers or more, it can separate the first of the number away from the rest, so that's the thousand. And then you also have the increase and decrease decimal places. So down below I have 2 decimal places. If I decrease it, the second decimal place, if it's 5 or greater than, it'll automatically round up the first decimal place, which goes from 0.2 in this case to 0.3. You want to see it? Yeah, all right, let's come up here and go ahead, and there you go, in the pop-up, decrease it. So get rid of a decimal place and it goes from 0.25 to 0.3. Now if you're like, okay, I want to go ahead and revert this back to the way it was, remember, as we went over in an earlier training video, you can come up here on the Home tab, go to the Editing group, click on the eraser and choose Clear Formats, and we're back to where we started. And you can see up here in the number group, now it's a general number, not the accounting number format or the currency that we selected thereafter. Now there are other number formats besides what you see in the group here, and you can click on the drop down arrow, see more, but you can go ahead and go down to more numbers. Opens up the format cells window here, and we're on the number tab, so we can see all the different types of number formats that we can choose from, the number, the currency. Ooh, let's go to currency. But before I do that, let me close out before I lose this thought, because you don't have to go that route to get there. You can also save yourself a click and click on its expandable dialog box button for the number group. Click on it, opens up the same window, or close out. You can right click on the selection and go down to format cells, opens up the same window. And so for the number format, we can go to currency and we can change the decimal place, and you can see a preview of it. If we go up to 3, adds a 0 because I didn't have anything prior but just 2 decimal places, so I'm just adding a bunch of zeros. Let's go back down to 2. Then the symbol, click on the drop down arrow. We can do the Russian, ruble, if I'm saying that right. Let me click off. And then for your negative numbers, when you type in a minus sign, it'll keep it there before the dollar, or when you type in a minus sign and you choose that format, it's going to be in red, or you can have parentheses, or a combination of both, red and parentheses. Let's go ahead and do that. Click OK, and then when I type in negative whatever, 1, hit enter, there you go. That represents a negative number, and now he owes me $1 for him not selling. Now how about a date? Well, I don't mean you silly. I'm looking at the date format applied to that number there, and we'll go over that in greater detail in a later training video. But right now, to keep it simple, you can see with it selected up here in the number group on the Home tab, it's a date. Click on the drop down arrow and let's see what other options we get. When we have a short date for those dates that you wish were short, and then you have a long date which includes the day and the month. Ooh, that looks fun. Let's go ahead and click on that. And it doesn't display it. Why? Because as you recall in an earlier training video, when Excel can't display everything that fills up the content of that cell because the, well, in this case, the width of the column is too small, it puts in a number mask. So that way you're not fooled into, because you only see part of a number, that that's what it is, and that can really mess up your accounting, couldn't it? Well, in this case it's a date, but still it follows the same format. So to go ahead and be able to see it, you can do one of two things. Either hover over it, and in the pop-up it displays it in full, or you can hover in between the 2 column headers to the right of the column that we want to expand. You can click and drag, or double click really fast to do an auto fit, and there we go. And of course, if you want more number formats for this, you can right click on it, go down to format cells. Let me click and drag this over so we can see it. And it's on the date category, and you can see what's currently applied to it up in the sample. And you can go ahead and scroll down and choose another date, maybe just the month and the year. You can also choose different location, English to something that gets kind of kooky and out of my country. In any case, leave that up to you. And then when you're done, go ahead and click OK, and it updates it. May of 2019. Now, even though it shows it there, the format, if you want the full date, just come up here in the formula bar and you can see the original data entry format, 5/15/2019. I want to show you how you can create your own custom number format. So for example, when you want to apply a number format to a range of cells, and you come up here on the Home tab to the number group and you don't see it there, click on the drop down arrow, you don't see it there, click on more number formats, and in the number window you don't find it there. Well, in this example, I want to be able to take this range of cells, that it's the employee ID, well, their social security number, and let's say I want to be able to add the words in front of each of their numbers, social security, and also have the symbol like the dash that separates like after the first 3 numbers, then the next 2 from the last 4. Well, when I go ahead and create my custom number format, it allows me to go ahead and add all that without interrupting Excel seeing that as just a number. Because if I come in here and I start typing in Social Security in front of it and adding my own dashes, that breaks it up with Excel thinking, okay, you got a mixture of text and numbers as opposed to just looking at numbers. And an example of that is over here where we added the dollar symbols or the accounting number, the format. You see the symbol there? When I select it, look up in the formula bar. What does Excel see? Just sees a number. So it doesn't mess with the other features in Excel when I want to be able to use that for a cell that contains numbers, because if I actually type in the dollar sign according to Excel, it's no longer a numbered cell. It's got characters, or if you want to type in text. So in any case, to get around that, so it just sees the numbers but allows me to view like the symbol here and dashes and also the text without interfering with Excel just focusing on the number here. Then go ahead and let's get started by selecting the range that I want to be able to create a custom number format for. And after I create it, have it automatically applied to it because I selected it first. And then go ahead with it selected, right click on the range, go down to Format Cells. Let me click and drag the title bar over. We're on the Number tab, and you'd think you'd go to Custom because you want to do something customary, right? But not according to what I know, because this is going to be special. Let me go ahead and click on it. And the special only contains 4 templates here. And hey, looky there. Oh, that worked out well. Social Security number. That's what I want to use. So you can see up here the number format that's being applied to it currently. General number format. When I select Social Security, it adds the dashes. Awesome. But I want something more, remember? I want to be able to add Social Security, the text in front of it. So to do that, once I find something that closely resembles what I want to use, but then I want to tweak it, after you select it, because hey, I don't want to do any more work than I have to, right? Then after I go ahead and select it, I can come down here and click on Custom, and you can see it's still there in the sample, and then below you have your field that you can make changes therein for that custom number. And in this example, I'm going to go ahead and type in open quotes, and I'm not going to type out Social Security, that's just too long. How about SS, and then close quotes, and you can see up here, okay, let me hit the space bar because I want some space, but hey, now we've got some text. But the text and the symbols are just for me. Excel's not going to see that. It's just going to see the number, which is good when I want to be able to use some of the features in Excel, for example, sorting just by numbers, not having a mixture and seeing the mixture of text and symbols. So when I'm done, click Okie dokie, and oh, isn't that fun? Cool. Now how do I know it's just seeing the numbers and not the text and the symbols? Go ahead and select on a cell and look up here in the formula bar. It just sees the number. Fabulous. And so if I want to scroll down just a bit and type in another number, I'm just making up a Social Security number here. And hit enter, and I want to apply that custom number format to it. Well, there's a couple ways you can go about doing it. And you want to watch my other training videos on formatting shortcuts to be able to apply formatting from one cell to another. We know that using the autofill works, that is if the cell's adjacent to it, but it's not. In any case, you can go ahead and select the cell that contains the formatting, Control-C to copy it, you get the marching ants, and then come down here and right-click on the cell so we can get the formatting options here. And we want formatting. Oh, you see when I hover over it? Down below here, oh, see, I can't go down there because then it disappears. So you see down below in cell B18 how it gives me a preview. Oh, beautiful. So I know that, hey, that's what I want. And it says formatting because it looks the way I want it to be applied and not something else like transpose. And that would be crazy. In any case, that's still going to, well, transpose will still put it there. But let's do formatting, and fabulous. And then to get rid of the marching ants, hit the escape key. Now, another way to go ahead and apply this is, let's go ahead and hit undo. You can go ahead and right-click on the cell, go to Format Cells. Let me click and drag this up, and go down to Custom. Now, when it comes to custom numbers, we're at the bottom of the ladder. So when we create a custom number, we got to scroll all the way down because it doesn't consider our custom numbers as important. And there it is. Beautiful. Select it, click OK, and it's applied. Now for laughs, let's go ahead and say that we made a mistake, and instead of doing SS, our boss comes up and says, no, it's supposed to be EID for employee ID. Let's not go ahead and say social security number. So to go ahead and make the changes, and let's do Control F to bring up the Find window. You click and drag the title bar up, and we want to click on Options to open it up. And instead of trying to do a search in vain, to have all these numbers memorized, we're looking for a specific format. And what's that format? Click on the drop down arrow, and let's go ahead and, well, we can choose it from the cell, or we can go ahead and click on the format option there, and then go to Custom. Remember, our custom's all the way down at the bottom. Select it right there, click OK, and that's what it's looking for. But what do we want to replace it with? Well, he said he wanted the EID, right? So here we go. Let's go ahead and click on, we can click on the Format button here and open it up. We can select Custom, and we can scroll down and choose Social Security, because we're basically going to have the same format. Instead of like SS, we're going to do, he just wanted EID. Well, there you go. That's what's going to be updated with. Click OK. Go ahead and, well, we can click on Find Next to make sure it's finding the format that we're looking for, and it found it. Cool. We can go ahead and click on Replace, or let's do Replace All. All 5 are made. OK, and oh, isn't that cool? You can apply borders and colors to a cell or range of cells to either make your worksheet more aesthetically pleasing to the eye, or for organizational purposes to make certain parts of your worksheet stand out, to draw attention to, or to place focus. And before we get started, you see all these lines here, these cells that have borders around it? Well, those are known as grid lines, which you can turn off by coming up here, clicking on the View tab, going to the Show group, and unchecking it. And it looks just like a regular document without those grid lines. And the only way I can tell how big a cell is without those grid lines is to select it, and, well, for design purposes, I don't like them off. I'm going to go ahead and turn them back on. And once they're back on, are these going to print off? To find out, go ahead and click on the File tab to go backstage down to Print. And what you see over here in Print Preview is what's going to come out of your printer. I don't see any. Okay, let me come over here and scroll down to the bottom right hand corner. We got the Zoom to Page. Click on it. Okay, zooms in. I definitely don't see any grid lines. Let me go ahead and click on the back arrow, and you'll notice this dashed line that cuts between H and I. We'll talk about that in a later training video, but in short, whenever you go to the Print Preview, that's the page break. So when you come back to the design view and you're like, okay, I want to fit everything onto page 1, well, it can only fit columns A through H on page 1, and it keeps going down if there's more data, and goes to page 2, page 3, and then when it runs out of data, it goes over to the next column for page, well, continues the numbering wherever we left on, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So that way you can go, okay, well, maybe I need to shrink the columns up to add this column and that column over onto page 1 and not have it onto page 2. Because that's the only data that I have on this page. I don't have, well, when I scroll down, anything below that. Let me go ahead and scroll back up. So that way you're not looking at this going, how in the world did he get that? And why is it there? Now you know. And like I said, we'll go over that in a later training video. So for right now, if I want to go ahead and add a border around these labels right here to make it stand out from the data down below, let's click and drag to select it. Come up here, click on the Home tab, go to the Font group, and it's right there, the bottom border. That's all you get. No, I'm kidding. Click on the drop-down arrow and you get more borders. So if you do want a bottom border to your selected range, go ahead and click on it. It doesn't show you until you click off, and hey, there you go. Doesn't that just look more organized to you? So if we want to go ahead and edit that, select the range again, come back up here, click on the drop-down arrow. Now when you make a selection here, when you click on the drop-down arrow, that's going to be the most recent button that will be displayed up at the top. So if I come down here and go to all borders, it applies to a single cell, but because you get lines in between it, that would be 2 or more cells. Either you had them horizontally or vertically. So when I go ahead and click on that, notice how it updates it to all borders, and when I click off over here, it adds lines in between the cells here. as well as the top and the bottom and the left and the right. So let's go ahead and select it. Come back up here, click on the drop down arrow. You got a lot to choose from. And if you want to erase it, you can use the erase border, click on it, you get this little gummy. You can go ahead and click on the top border of it, but it only does one cell at a time, and that's just annoying. So instead, let me go ahead and hit the escape key to get rid of the gummy. And you'll notice up here we don't get the border icon because it was the most recent that we did, which was to erase the border. So that's there, but you can still click on the drop down arrow and you get all the other options, of course. So you can go ahead and do it that way by selecting the default options and erasing using the eraser down below, or you can go to More Borders, opens up the Format Cells, puts you on the Border tab, and you get a preview of what's going on, of what you have selected. Let me click and drag the title bar over so you can see it over here. And this preview window shows us where we have a fuzzy border at the top, a fuzzy border in the middle, but all around it, it's a solid line. And the reason being is because in that selection, we have in between the cells, well, between average and commission, no border because we erased it. But between average and total, we have a border, so it says you got something there, but not everywhere, or in between all the cells, as well as the top, because we erased the top to average, but not for total and commissions, so it gave us a fuzzy border saying you do have in your selection a border there, but not the top of all the cells. Now up at the top you have presets, so if you want to clear this out, you can select none and it clears it. You can go ahead and choose outline, and outlines it. That means that of the selected range, it just goes around it, doesn't put lines in between all the cells. You can also do just inside, and well, if you go back to none and click on inside, it just does the inside. I wanted to clear outline out, so it'll put lines in between those cells here without any border on the outside. You can use the presets, or you can use the borders here. And like if you want a top border, I don't know if you can see it, but you got that box and everything's faded, but the top of it has a solid line. When you click on it, it adds a line, right? So you can use these buttons to add lines, or you can go over in the preview window and click on it to remove them. That works. You can also use diagonal to add lines. That crosses out all the cells. I wonder what that looks like. Click on it and okay, that's not cool. Let me click off. That's what it looks like. Let's go ahead and select it. Now I can either come back up here and click on the drop down arrow, but remember, this is the most recent place that I've been to. More Borders, click on it and it opens up. Now you can do it that way or close out. If it's not there for you to click on, you can right click on your selection and go to Format Cells. Opens up the same window and we're on the Border tab. Cool. If not, then just go ahead and click on the Border tab. But it remembers where we were last at. We can go ahead and click None. And if you want to get fancy, hey, choose a style. So you can go ahead and choose a style here. Well, let's go ahead and also choose a color for the style. Let's make it red. So it updates all the styles to that color, red. And we'll make sure we got that selected. And then we can come over here and click to add those borders. Or you can go ahead and use the buttons. It's your flavor. Let's go ahead and click on the drop down arrow and choose green because I got that Christmas thing going on. And let's choose this one right here, the double lines, and put that at the bottom and also the top. Sure, why not? And then while we're here, instead of just adding borders that are colorful, how about if we fill it in with some color? Oh, that sounds cool. So you got some colors you can choose from here. Maybe you'll do a kind of a light red. Down below it shows you the sample. You can also choose a pattern style and then a pattern color, but let's just keep it simple here. And click OK, updates it, click off. Ooh, that's kind of cool. The red borders on the left and right side, and then the green on the top and bottom. And then if you really like what you've applied here, you want to apply it to, well, other ranges. Go ahead and select it. Control C to copy. Go ahead and select the other range and right click on the selected range and say you want to paste the format. And notice that when I select formatting, let me click off because it wasn't, well, let me hit the escape key so we can get rid of the marching ants. You can see over here that it's going to repeat the pattern because what I had selected over here, the format being applied to it was 3 cells. Over here it's 4. So when it hit the between the third and fourth column, it started the pattern over where it ends and begins with that red border for the next 3 cells here, but I don't have any extras, so, and I didn't select those extras, but you want to keep that in mind. But if you want to go ahead and make changes to it, you can select the cell instead of the entire range, and then go ahead and come up here and make sure it's more borders to bring it open. And you can see, let me click and drag it over to the right hand side, that on the left border of the selected cell it's in red. If I want to open that up, and then close it to the right hand side and click OK, click off. Okay, much better. I want to go over 3 formatting shortcuts you can use when you got formatting in one cell that you want to copy and apply it to another cell or range of cells. And that first one I gave it away. You can use the copy and paste options. So for example, let me go ahead and select a cell here, cell H5, and let me beef it up with some formatting, like up here on the Home tab in the font group. Make it B for bold, and then click on the paint bucket drop down arrow and fill the cell in with a fancy color like red accent 2 lighter 60%. Ooh, that sounds fancy. Let's go ahead and select that. And let's apply a bottom border to it. So back up here, we've got the borders. Okay, that bottom border is pretty skinny. So let's go ahead and click on the drop down arrow and choose something that's thick bottom border. Click on it. Let me click off and okay, that looks good. So if you want to be able to copy the formatting that's been applied to that cell, and the reason why you want to do that is because if you want to add the same formatting to another cell, unless you can remember all the formats that have been applied to that cell and come up here and click away, well, that could be a waste of time. As opposed to the first shortcut, which is a simple copy and paste option. So when I come over here and I select the cell that contains the formatting that I want to copy, go ahead and use the shortcut keys Control-C to copy. It's in copy mode now because you can see the marching ants. And then come over here, select the cell that you want to apply the formatting to, and you want to use the formatting options because if you do a simple paste, it's going to bring over everything. So January is going to be overwritten by total. We don't want that. We just want its formatting. So to bring up the paste options, we can either come up here on the Home tab, go to the clipboard group, click on the paste drop down arrow, and hey, there you go. You got the keep source formatting. So it gets rid of everything else but the formatting from the source that we're copying from. You can do it that way, or you can go ahead and right click on it, and in the shortcut menu, there you go, you get the same paste option with the paintbrush there. That's the formatting. So you can go ahead and click on that and keep it, and then if you're like, I decide against it, you get the little tag that you can click on. Just go ahead and paste values and just not do the formatting at all, in which case it doesn't make sense here, but nonetheless you do get the options. So let me go ahead and hit undo. So there's the first shortcut, is to copy and do paste options to apply the formatting only. You can do it that way, or let me go ahead and hit the escape key to get out of the copy mode. You can use the format painter, and that's found up here on the Home tab in the clipboard group, and it's right there, that paintbrush. Let's do some painting. So first of all, we have to select the cell that we want to copy the formatting from because the format painter is basically going to be copying. But instead of us going after we brushed it with the brush, going, okay, what kind of options do I want to go ahead and apply to it, the least of which was the format, it's automatically going to apply to it. So that's one less step. So with it selected, you can either come up here and click on the format painter there, or you can go ahead and right click on the selected cell and you get the mini formatting toolbar that has Format Painter. You can go ahead and click on it, and it puts it in what appears to be copy mode. Well, it is, except it's not copying everything, just the formatting. And you can see when I move my mouse around, you get the white cross. That's in selection mode. So I can go ahead and select one cell, or click and drag to select a range of cells, and right next to that white cross, you got the brush, meaning that it's just going to brush it over with the formatting that it's copying from that selected cell with the marching ants and nothing more. So you save yourself an extra step without having you to bring up the paste options. So let's go ahead and do January, click and click off. Cool. Now you see how the cell no longer is in copy or format painter mode because you don't get the marching ants. So it's a one-time application. So if you want to do it some more, then go ahead and select the cell, come back up, click on Format Painter, select a cell or range of cells, click on it again, select again. Well, that can be annoying if you got a big project. So what you can do is, I got my cell selected, just come up here and double click really fast on the Format Painter. Double click, and that way you can click, 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 pretty cool, click and drag. I know, it doesn't look good there, but nonetheless, when you click and drag, it'll actually paint an entire range there. You can see the paintbrush is always going to be up until you either come up here and deselect it, or you hit the escape key on the keyboard and it's no longer available, so you can click anywhere you want. And that's good for multiple applications. The third and final shortcut is, well, let me come over here and select average. Come back up here and click on B for bold. Let's give it a color. Let's just go ahead and do red. and we'll do italics and underline. So we have all that formatting applied to it. Go ahead and select another cell that you want to bring the formatting over and hit the F4 key on the keyboard. Oh, what the fudge? It only brought over the underline. Well, the reason being is the F4 key will only keep in its memory bank the most recent formatting that we applied, which was the underline. So if I come over here to another cell and I do underline and bold, and I go down to another cell and I hit the F4 key, the last thing we did was bold. Now to get around that, if you want to use the F4 key because you're a keyboard person, what you can do is, let's go ahead and select another cell here, is that instead of coming up here on the ribbon and applying your formats there, because it will only remember the most recent formatting that you clicked on, go ahead and open up the font group, the expandable dialog box button, that little arrow in the right hand corner, click on it, click and drag the title bar up so it's right in the middle, and then go ahead and do your formatting here in this window. Bold, let's make it huge. Let's do 18. Ooh, that's crazy. Let's go ahead and give it some color, maybe purplish, okay. And then we'll just strike through. Now, let's make it superscript. Okay, that's a lot of formatting. What's the most recent formatting that I did? Superscript. Click Okie dokie. Well, first of all, it applies it, and then we can go ahead and select another cell. Let's do the one below it and scroll down. Hit the F4 key, and hey, looky there. So the difference when it comes to using the F4 key, if you want all the formatting, well, when you're applying it from the ribbon, it only remembers the most recent. But when you go to the expandable dialog box to expand the group, anything you do within that window, it'll remember all of it. So that F4 key becomes pretty handy then. Okay, people, it's time to bring out the inner artist in all of us. We're going to go ahead and learn how to add backgrounds to our worksheets. You know, maybe it's for a holiday or given a presentation, you want something to kind of spiff it up just a bit. Well, to go ahead and do it, come up here, click on the Page Layout tab, go to the Page Setup group, and it's right there, Background. You can see it says, Add some personality to your worksheet. Oh, we're going to add some. Let's go ahead and click on it, Background. We can search a file on our computer or from the search engine Bing. Let's go ahead and do it on our computer. Click Browse. Come over here in the navigation pane, and I'm going to choose my desktop. Yeah, ooh, Autumn. Yeah, let's go ahead and double click on that, and ooh, that's fancy. Now, when you insert a background, it's only about yay big, your picture. And so what happens, and I'm going to go ahead and scroll down, that when it fits a certain region of the worksheet, then it starts to tile. In other words, it starts to repeat itself again. So when I get down to the bottom here, there you go, there's the top of it again. And you keep scrolling down and it goes throughout the entire worksheet. Now, only this worksheet, not the other worksheets. If you want to add them to the other worksheets, then you have to come back up here on the Page Layout tab to the Page Setup group and click on Background. But let's go back to Sheet 1. And if you don't like it, well, come back up here and it went from Background to Delete Background. Click on it and it's gone. Let's go ahead and scroll back up. There we go. And let's go ahead and click on Background again so we can go ahead and do a search on Bing. And let's do Autumn again, see if there's a better autumn picture than what I have. Type it in, go ahead and hit Enter on the keyboard, and ooh, that's pretty. Let's go ahead and click on that. And click on Insert. Oh, it's not as big, and so it's tiling even sooner here. So right there to there to there, and it goes on forever. When it comes to aligning the contents of a cell, you can do it both vertically and horizontally. In this example, I'm looking at the labels of the months January through April. Well, right now I won't be able to show you how you can align it more vertically because, I mean, look at the space. If I align it to the top, where's it going to go? So let's go ahead and open up row 5 more by coming over and hovering just below the row header number 5 and above 6 until I can see arrows pointing up and down. And then click and drag to stretch row 5 about yay big. Okay, that'll work. So with it selected, let's come up here on the Home tab, go to the Alignment group, and you have the 3 vertical alignments and the 3 horizontal. Now for the vertical, you can see when you hover over it, it's already highlighted, that the range that I have selected, the contents of those cells are aligned to the bottom. If you want to align them to the middle, go ahead and click it. There's the middle. You can see it here, it's obvious because of all the space. We're down below in row 7. If I aligned it to the middle, where's it going to go? So let's go ahead and come up here and click to the top. And then for horizontal alignments, we can do left, center, and then right. And let's go back to the way it was, which was center and to the bottom. Now for some fun, if you want to go ahead and change the orientation of the contents of the cells, go ahead and click on it, and you get some options like angle counterclockwise. Ooh, that sounds pretty kooky. Let's go ahead and click on that, and hey, that actually looks pretty cool. Next, I want to show you how you can merge your cells. So for example, in cell A1, because the contents can't fit within the entire column, it bleeds over into the next column. That is, as long as there's nothing there. You know, it's like at home, laying on the couch. You stretch out, but at the moment somebody comes in, you pull up your legs and you sit down. So if some data is being entered into cell B1, type in a number, hit enter, then it gets cut off. And the only way we're going to be able to see the entire contents is to either select the cell, and you can look up here in the formula bar, or again, we're going to have to go ahead and click and drag in between the column headers and stretch column A all the way over until we can see everything here that's within it. So instead, let me go ahead and hit undo. And so it's now bleeding over. What you can do is you can make it permanent. In other words, you can go ahead and merge those two cells together. So you've got enough space here that's going to require two cells without it bleeding over that you can merge to fit the contents of cell A1 into both A and B1. Or better yet, you can go ahead and merge A through E. Ooh, that sounds pretty crazy, but we're going to do it. So to do that, come up here after you select the range that you want to merge, and on the Home tab to the alignment group, and it's right there. The default button is merge and center, so when you click on it, it'll merge the range of cells that I have selected, and then after it's done merging, it'll align it horizontally, that is center-wise. And you can do it that way, or click on the drop-down arrow. There's the same button, merge and center, or you don't have to use the alignment option. You can merge across or merge the cells, and well, we'll unmerge them in just a minute. So let's go ahead and merge it, and then align it, center align it, cool. So you can see with it selected, when you click off of it, that it takes up all the cells there in row 1, A through E. And so when you want to go to cell D1, what does the name box say? Not D1. Excel now sees it as A1. So anytime you merge any cells together, the first cell in that merge is what's going to be referenced over here in the name box. It no longer sees it as separate cells, but as individual cells, that is the beginning of the merge, which is cell A1. You can do it that way, or you can, well, when I tell my students, when in doubt, right-click, because more often than not, what you're looking for is going to be found either in the shortcut menu or on the mini formatting toolbar instead of perusing all the different tabs to find it. But here we go. We've got it right there, merge and center. So it's highlighted. If I deselect it, it unmerges it, uncenters it, and it goes back to the way it was. And if for some reason, if the alignment's off, like it looks like, let me click on that, looks like that, well, because it's aligned to the right side of the cell, and then it goes backwards and it gets cut off. So you can go ahead and undo it, or align it to the left-hand side so it bleeds over into cell B because nothing's there. Now, if that doesn't work for you and you're like, look, I don't want it to bleed over into cell B, but I don't want to merge it, the other option that you have is you can go ahead and wrap the extra text instead of going over into the B column to put it and tuck it underneath camping gear. And that's called text wrapping. So with the cell selected, let's come up here on the Home tab, go to the alignment group, and it's right there. A little wrapping, yo, yo, yo. So go ahead and click on it, and it takes the text and just wraps it around underneath what it couldn't squeeze within the width of the column here, and it starts stretching it open more vertically. So if I come in here and double click to do an edit and add some more text, you see it keeps wrapping. Hit enter and it adjusts it and makes that row a lot larger. So if I had another cell here that had more text than in cell A1, it would fit it to the largest text within that row, and it would be a lot larger. And then of course, if you want to get rid of that or go back to the way it was where it was bleeding, select it. Come back up here on the Home tab to the alignment group and just deselect wrap text. And we're back to where we started, except we have some more text. Now, in addition to those options within the alignment group, you can go ahead and click on its expandable dialog box button. And let me click and drag the title bar over here. So we're in the Format Cell window on the Alignment tab, and you can adjust the alignments both horizontally and vertically, as we did here. But we've got this left indent if you want to adjust it horizontally. Let me click on the drop-down arrow. You can do a right indent. So let me show you what that indent does. So with left indent, let's do 2 to see what that looks like. is going to take the contents of the cell, and instead of you coming in here and hitting the spacebar several times to move it over, when you use spaces within a cell, you're not going to be able to use some advanced features in Excel. So to get around that, if you want to see a space, then do an indent without actually putting spaces within the cell, so it moves it over for you. So let's see what 2 looks like, an indentation thereof, and click Okie dokie, and that's not too bad. So when you double click in it, and you want to go to the left, you can't use the arrow keys, go to the left because there's no spaces, it's an indentation. Cool. Go ahead and hit the escape key to pop back out of that, and then come up here and click on the expandable dialog box button again, and we can go back down to 0. And then you got your alignment vertically, top, center, bottom, justify. In your text controls, you can do the wrap. And if you have a cell that has wrap text, this will be checked. You can come in here and uncheck it, or you can come up here and deselect it. It's your flavor. And then shrink text to fit, so it'll shrink it so it's a lot smaller to get everything within that cell. And then of course you can merge the cells. If you already merged them, this will be checked. You can uncheck it here to unmerge them. And then you got the text direction. You can click on the drop down arrow. You can do right to left, so instead of going from left to right, camping gear, it'll flip it around. I'll leave it as is. And then you have the orientation, which if you want to go ahead and, as we just did, but those were templates that let me click and drag this out of the way. Right here, the default, if you want to get more particular degree-wise, like 27 degrees, let's go ahead and go with that. You can type it in the spin dial box, or like you just saw me here, click and drag the tip of it to move it around, and let's do 30, okay, 38, click OK, and oh, that's crazy. Oh, I better undo that. Let's come up here, hit undo. Oh, we're back to the indentation of 2. Okay, let's go ahead and click the expandable dialog box. You don't have to watch this. I just want to clean it up. Hey, that's just the way I roll. Let's go ahead and click OK, and we're back to where we started. In earlier training videos, we learned how to apply formatting to the contents of a cell, a range of cells, and even the cells themselves. Well, here I want to introduce you to cell styles, which is a collection of formats you can apply to a cell or a range of cells in a single click. And to see if you like any of these pre-built-in format styles, let's go take a gander by coming up here on the Home tab to the Styles group, and there you go, Cell Styles. You can see in the pop-up it says, a colorful style is a great way to make important data stand out on the sheet. Oh, I'm sold. Go ahead and click on it, and hey, look at all those styles. You even have the bad, the good, and the neutral. And so with my cell selected, if I hover over any one of these styles, it'll give me a preview over here. So if I do the bad, oh, that's bad. Okay, that's just the name of the style. Doesn't make it bad, but typically when you see red, that's bad. And then you got the good, oh, that's good. And then to apply it, just go ahead and click on it, and there you go. Now, if you want to be able to tweak it, well, with it already applied, you can make changes here, but if you want that to be updated to the style itself, then to modify the style, come back up here, click on Cell Styles, and then find the style, right-click on it. Well, you can apply it, and there's the modify, which we'll go over in just a minute. You can duplicate it, make a copy of it, and then any changes you make won't overwrite the original, so you still have the original. You can also delete it. So to modify it, click on it, and it opens up, and this window only lists the styles that are included in the one that we're modifying. If you want to be able to make any changes, well, you can go ahead and uncheck it if you don't want it shaded here. Or if you want to choose a different shade and not the light green, click on Format, and okay, you got a lot to choose from. Okay, it's not a number, so we're not going to worry about the number style. You've got the alignment. You can align it horizontally, vertically within the cell. You got the font. You can change the color, make it big, bad, bold, beautiful. And you've got the border, which we covered in an earlier training video. The color, the fill color. Protection, we'll cover that in a later training video. That's a little bit more advanced. Let's go ahead and close out. I'm not going to make any changes. I'll just click cancel here and leave as is. Let me go ahead and select another range here and go back to Cell Styles. And if you don't like any of these, you want to start from scratch, you can either come down here and click on New Cell Style, and then click on Format, and then check the boxes, whatever you want, and then click OK. And then, of course, go ahead and give it a name, and then click OK. Let me close out. You can do it that way, or you can go ahead and apply formats to the range, or select a cell or range of cells that has formatting that you like, that you want to convert into an actual cell style here, because it'll suck it right in. Let me show you. Let's start from scratch. And so we've got a range selected. Let's go ahead and just come up here and make it bold. Let's do a fill color. Let's kind of do light. Let's do red accent 2, lighter 80%. Click on that and okay, let's change the font color. Let's do dark blue. Yeah, that works. Okay. So you can see it right there. If I like it and I want that to be a new cell style, so I don't have to go ahead and, select another range, so I want the same format applied to it and use the formatting shortcuts, which we went over in an earlier training video. If you want it to be a cell style, select it, come up here, click on cell styles, go down and click on new. When you click on new, it's going to suck in what you have selected here, and it's listed right there. And of course you can click on format, make some more tweaks and updates there, but I've got everything I need here. I just need to go ahead and give it a fun name, or it's a fun style, and then click okie dokie. Cool. So I can go ahead and select another range, and is my fun style there? Click on style. Oh, that's fun. And of course you can go ahead and right click on it to modify it, delete it, and then let me click on it, and there you go. Cool. Now this style is only available in this workbook. If I create a new workbook, it's not going to be available there. So what if I want to have the style available in a new workbook or in another workbook that I'm working on? I'm glad you asked. Well, let me go ahead and minimize this down to the taskbar, because on my desktop, here's the workbook that I'm currently in, Create and Manage Styles, and here's my copy of it, number 2. Let me go ahead and double click to open that up. And you can see up here in the title bar, it's number 2. And let me click off. There's a range that I set up previously. It's a cell style. So if I come up here, click on cell styles, it's my spiffy style. So the other workbook, the first one has the fun, this one has the spiffy. If I want to go ahead and merge from one to the other, go ahead and go to the workbook that you want to merge the style into. Like if I stay in this workbook and I come down here and click on merge styles. Now the caveat is that you got to have that other workbook open to be able to bring the style in. So I have my other workbook that has the fun style, right? As opposed to the workbook number 2 that I'm in that has spiffy. So if I want to bring the fun style in, click on merge styles. And it says you want to merge styles from the first workbook, well, the one that doesn't have number 2 like this one does. Oh, like yes, select it. If you have other workbooks open, it lists those other workbooks with those other styles, if they had styles within them to merge. So go ahead and click OK, and it's going to say, do these merge styles have the same names? They don't, so I'm good. I won't be overriding anything, so I'll say no. Okay, let's see if it's available. Let me select my range to prepare myself and see if the fun style has been brought over. Click on cell styles, and oh, that's fun. Click on it. Gravy. That's great. Let's go ahead and go back to the other one, and let's click on cell styles. Now the spiffy style isn't here, so I just need to, with that other workbook open that contains that style, say merge it. And there's number 2, and this is number 1. You can see up in the title bar, we don't have number 2 there, so we select number 2. Click okie dokie. Do they have the same name? No, we're good. So I'll just go ahead and select that range, click on cell styles. Oh, that's spiffy. Cool. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please look in the description below this video.